Nobody expected it, but the Eagles turned a meaningless preseason game into breaking news. Just minutes before kickoff against the Jets, the whispers started spreading. Starters were being decided, position battles were shifting, and one quarterback's future was suddenly in doubt. It was the kind of twist that makes fans lean forward and stop scrolling. This wasn't about highlights or scores. It was about the clues hidden in who played, who sat, and who didn't even put pads on. The Eagles gave away their hand without saying a word, and the message was clear. Decisions are already being made. With roster cuts coming in days, every sign feels bigger. Players are fighting for their jobs, and fans are trying to piece together what this means for September. The suspense now runs deeper than the game itself. The buzz only grows when you remember what's next. The Cowboys, the banner drop, and a stadium waiting for its champions. That's the stage being set. This preseason finale wasn't filler. It was the first act of the real story. And right in the middle of it all, a brand new face stole attention on the very first play. John Metchie didn't wait for his moment, he made one. Don't forget to subscribe to Red Zone Report for more powerful NFL stories. The first snap told the whole story. Rookie quarterback Kyle McCord dropped back, and instead of looking for a familiar face, he fired straight to the newcomer, John Metchie. One quick route, one sharp catch, and suddenly the crowd had a reason to pay attention. It was more than just a first down. It was a signal that Metchie is already in the plans. He didn't light up the stat sheet, but this moment wasn't about numbers. It was about trust. A player who had barely unpacked his bag was given the first play of the night, and that says a lot. Coaches wanted to see him tested right away, and Metchie showed he belongs on the field. Of course, it wasn't perfect. He followed that early catch with a costly drop, and after that, his name didn't echo much through the game. Still, flashes matter. A single clean route and a strong catch can be enough to show why a player was brought in. Sometimes, all you need is a glimpse of what's possible. The timing of his arrival could not be bigger. With injuries already cutting into the wide receiver room, the Eagles need fresh help. Metchie doesn't have to replace a star, but he has to prove he can hold his ground when called on. That's how role players turn into game changers. And while fans were busy reacting to his short debut, another storyline was quietly shaping the night. A crushing injury that could change the depth chart in an instant. Just when the Eagles thought their receiver depth was finally stabilizing, the night delivered a brutal blow. Second-year wide receiver Johnny Wilson, who had been stacking strong practices, is done for the year. A knee and ankle injury in camp led to surgery, and the team must move forward without him. This one stings more than the usual injury report. Wilson's size at 6'6" gave the offense something rare. He could dominate as a blocker on the edge, seal running lanes, and tower over corners in the red zone. That combination doesn't exist anywhere else on the roster. His preseason growth had hinted at a bigger role. Coaches were impressed with how quickly he was adjusting, and fans were expecting to see him take a step forward. Now, that progress has been stopped cold, and the team is left reshuffling before Week 1 even arrives. The frustration isn't only about what he offered, but about the timing. Losing him so close to the start of the season puts added pressure on younger receivers and newcomers. Depth was already thin, and now every rep matters even more. But as one door closed, another cracked open. Just before kickoff, the Eagles leaked a very different kind of update, one that could flip the mood back to hope as A.J. Brown stepped onto the field looking ready to run. For weeks, the big question in Philadelphia was simple: how healthy is A.J. Brown? The star receiver had been sidelined with a hamstring issue, and silence from the team only fueled concern. But just before the Jets game, that silence broke in the best way possible. Brown stepped onto the field during warm-ups and moved like nothing was holding him back. Full-speed sprints, sharp cuts, clean grabs, all the things fans were waiting for. In one quick stretch, the energy around the team shifted from doubt to relief. This wasn't just about easing worries. It was a statement that the Eagles' top weapon is on track for opening night. Reports even suggested he could return to full practice within days. For a team about to face Dallas, that's the kind of news that lifts an entire locker room. The hamstring had robbed him of most of camp, but his presence was enough to remind everyone what he brings. Defenses adjust the moment he lines up. Quarterbacks breathe easier when they see him outside. That security is something Philadelphia cannot replace. Still, while A.J. Brown's return is a spark of hope, the fight for depth behind him raged on. One unlikely wideout used the preseason finale to make his case, pushing his name into the roster debate. While A.J. Brown's recovery stole the spotlight, the rest of the wide receiver room turned the preseason finale into an audition. With depth suddenly in question, every snap mattered for the names on the fringe. One of them, Terrace Marshall Jr., delivered when it counted. Marshall led the team in catches and yards against the Jets. Nothing flashy, no highlight reel grabs, but steady production whenever the ball came his way. Sometimes that quiet reliability is more valuable than one big play, especially when coaches are weighing consistency. His performance came at the right time. With roster cuts looming, Marshall's tape now shows he can handle pressure and respond when called on. That's often the difference between landing a practice squad spot or cleaning out a locker. Still, the numbers game is brutal. Even a solid showing might not be enough to crack the final 53. But practice squad roles are vital, and as last season proved, those players can end up making an impact deep into the year. And while Marshall worked to keep his name alive, several unexpected players across other positions did the same, turning one ugly preseason game into a showcase of surprise standouts. The Jets game may not have had starters on the field, but it gave the spotlight to unexpected names who refused to waste the chance. On defense, Perry Nickerson turned heads with a diving interception that showed off veteran instincts and body control. It was the type of play that sticks in a coach's memory. He wasn't alone. Rookie running back Montreal Johnson Jr. found the end zone with a sharp cut and burst, proving he can finish runs with power. Even if his numbers were modest, one touchdown run on a crucial down showed why he deserves another look. Then came the flash from Lewis Cine, a safety trying to rebuild his career. He snagged a diving interception that reminded everyone why he was once a first-round pick. An injury cut his night short, but for a moment he looked like a playmaker again. The biggest surprise came off the edge. Rookie Antoine APR Ryland delivered a strip sack that swung momentum and showed the raw pass rush talent he carried from college. It was the kind of play that makes people rethink a depth chart. These moments may not guarantee roster spots, but they spark conversations in meeting rooms. And with position battles still undecided, the timing could not be better, especially for the defensive backs and linebackers still fighting for starting jobs. The clearest signs of who will start came not from plays on the field, but from who never suited up. Sidney Brown stayed on the sideline, and that alone spoke volumes. After weeks of competition, he now looks locked in as the starter at safety heading into Week 1. At linebacker, the picture sharpened in a similar way. Ji'Ayir Campbell was held out, while Jeremiah Trotter Jr. took the field. Trotter had a strong camp, but Campbell's first-round pedigree and upside now give him the inside track to start next to Zach Bond. Sometimes the depth chart speaks loudest without words. Cornerback decisions remain the tightest race. Adoree Jackson has the edge after sitting out the finale, but Jakorian Bennett refused to fade away. Sticky coverage all night showed he can hold his ground, even if completions landed on top of him. Coaches notice when a player stays in position, even on tough catches. These battles are more than paper decisions. They set the tone for September, where one weak link can be exposed fast. Philadelphia isn't looking for short-term flashes here. They're looking for players who can hold up against the Cowboys on opening night. And while some spots now feel settled, one position remains full of uncertainty. The quarterback room carried its own drama into the finale, and the way it played out could shape the depth chart in unexpected ways. The last twist of the preseason came under center. Rookie Kyle McCord played every snap against the Jets, and that alone told the story. By giving him the full game, the Eagles showed he has jumped ahead of DTR in the battle for the third quarterback spot. The problem is, the performance didn't match the opportunity. McCord finished with poor numbers, missing throws and turning the ball over once. It was a reminder that winning a roster spot and being ready for real NFL action are two very different things. For now, the coaching staff may have no choice but to lean on him as Tanner McKee recovers. It's not the most comfortable position, but it's the reality heading into cutdown day. The depth chart is thin, and every rep McCord takes becomes critical. This isn't just about who holds the clipboard. One injury can put a backup into the spotlight, and Philadelphia knows how quickly that moment can come. The preseason finale raised questions the Eagles must answer fast. With cuts now only hours away and Dallas looming in Week 1, the stage is set. The preseason ended with leaks, injuries, and surprise performances, but now every storyline shifts into real football. Blessings to all my Red Zone Report subscriber family. Your support means everything. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and I'll catch you in the next one.